Hey guys, Yankee here, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Tenchi Muyo OVA 3 Episode 7. It has like a different title, I think it's like Plus One, something like that. I'm just going to call it Episode 7. So this episode opens up with Misao attacking Earth in the Chobimaru, and Ryoko and Ryo-Ohki attacking it. We're still catching up to where time reset. And there's even a moment where, like, everything that happened in what would have been, like, episode 5? Everything that happened in episode 5 is happening exactly as it was. Mihoshi is drunk dancing. Ryo-Ohki is drunk dancing. Everybody's having a good time. Noike is looking up at the Chobimaru, just kind of worried, and Tenchi reassures her, like, look, we've been replaying time here for a little bit. Everything's happened normally. It's going to be fine. And everything happens almost normally, except for Misao and Mashisu get teleported to where I don't remember where they were. They're on somebody's ship. Gets teleported in like normal, but the Chobimaru is about to fire a laser at Earth. So Tenchi, who is now like awakened greater powers, he instantly teleports out, gets in the way of the blast, blocks it. And this triggers him to get thrown back in time, so all the other stuff from the previous episode can happen, like him meeting the little girl Kagato and stuff. So, then the intro plays, and then we're all caught up. We've replayed everything. We're just going forward now. So, like, the first half of this episode, maybe, is that plus punishments for Mashisu and Misao and Minami, who I think is Mihoshi's grandfather, right? Or her, like, great-uncle or something. He's related. He's important in GP. And then, oh no, I don't remember what her name is. The old Kurimitsu lady. I don't know her name. I forgot. But she's sort of in charge. So it's Minami, this woman I can't remember, and Seto. They're handing out punishments. And the woman whose name I can't remember, which is going to be annoying because she's kind of important here, she's the one sort of setting out the punishments. So Minami, who I believe is Mihoshi's grandfather, he was kind of encouraging Misao to do this. He like gave him or let him use the Chobimaru, if I remember right. So he gets demoted. Mashisu is sentenced to basically cleaning stuff at Galaxy Police Academy, I think, or like just Galaxy Police headquarters. And Misao is sentenced to do the, Kurimitsu male ritual, or male rite, where basically he's just going to have to go down to the planet that Kurimitsu family's from, and just cut down trees, the old-fashioned way, with saws and stuff. And there's an explanation about it. Mihoshi explains it. I don't remember the exact reasoning behind it, but it's something like, when we colonized this planet, the people just had to cut down trees and whatnot by hand, so he's going to have to do that now to sort of, like, as punishment, right? Misao agrees, he's, taking his punishment, but he wants to bring Mashisu with him, and the only way that that's allowed is if, like, the only people he would be allowed to bring are his wife or his children, or both. And so Minami is against this. He doesn't want Misao and Mashisu getting married. Seto steps up because Misao is obviously like royalty, kind of, or not kind of, like the Kurimitsu family is basically royalty, and Mashisu is not. So Seto steps up and says, I will adopt you into my family, you can take my name, and then this can become a political marriage between Jurai and the Kurimitsus. So that's how that works out. Mitoto shows up, who's Mihoshi's mother, in, like, I don't know if she showed up in OVA 3 yet, but she's a character in GXP who willingly is a janitor, just goes around cleaning up, but she also has, like, Mihoshi's ability to just sort of stumble into things, except to, like, a much a much greater level where she'll just she'll be on another planet and she'll stumble into like a spaceship, or like she's on Earth for some reason. She was nowhere near Earth. So things like that. So she just stumbles in and gives like this whole spiel about how, yeah, I always wanted Misao to either marry Noike or Mashisu. I even convinced everybody that it would be a great idea, and Minami's freaking out. And that's that. So that's all settled. Seto is going to adopt Mashisu. Masao and Mashisu are going to get married. Done. Everything's solved there. And now the second half of this is all about finally touching on stuff with Tenchi's mother, right? That's been like something that's been, I think, since OVA 1. I don't remember how much it was touched on in OVA 1. I don't remember if Ryoko tearing his mother's kimono was in that. But I definitely know that there was the flashback of Tenchi and his mother in that. So, like, ever since the first season of the show, we've had sort of... we've been bringing up Tenchi's mother, and she's dead, and Tenchi, obviously, is very affected by that. And so in this, we finally learn how she dies. Maybe. So, Tenyo, Airi, Yosho, Nobuyuki, Rhea, they show up at the house. Yosho and Nobuyuki sit Tenchi down, and they're finally going to tell him how his mother died. And they go on like this long story. First about how Tenchi was sick, and he needed some, like, this herb to make medicine. So Kione, his mother, climbed up this cliff to get it, and she fell. And Tenchi is listening intently. He's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So that's how she died? No. She walked to the hospital. She was fine. While she was in the hospital, though, because she couldn't get you the medicine, you were sick, and you ended up in the hospital with her. And then, I don't remember why she left the hospital, but she left the hospital for some reason, and was walking down the street and got hit by a car. And so Tenchi's like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. She was killed in that car accident. No, she was fine. The actual reason why she died was old age. Maybe. That's what the story says. I don't know if that's the actual way she died, if all those other examples were just sort of build up to that, or if that's also part of this story, but I want to take it at face value and say, Kione, Tenchi's mother, she just died of old age, right? I think they said she was like 200 and something, which, you know, for this series isn't very old, but it's also something that, if that's how she died, like, obviously they can't explain that to Tenchi, where it's like, he thought he was a human until recently, so they can't be like, yes, 10-year-old Tenchi, your mother was actually 200-something years old, and she just got old and died. So, it's a way that it makes keeping her death a secret make sense up until this point, though they could have told him a little bit earlier, but, so it makes sense why he didn't know, which is good, but also, like, I think this is explained in, like, one of the dojins somewhere, why she died of old age when everybody else lived so long, and I can't remember the exact reason. I think it's something to do with, like, the Galaxy Police's body modification and how she didn't take part in it, and she doesn't have a royal tree, I think, but she's dead. And Tenchi is upset about this, obviously, and Nobuyuki and Yosho try and explain, like, look, your mother was kind of a jokester. She liked to mess around, and she wrote this script, and we needed to read it to you. We didn't really want to. And Tenchi is upset, and he storms off. And he is up by the cave where he found Ryoko, and Rhea approaches him and just sort of has a talk with him about it. It's like, you've been putting your mother on this pedestal, you're remembering her in a way that wasn't true to who she was. And, you know, it's kind of sad for her, isn't it, that you keep, remembering her incorrectly, where she was this silly, goofy person, and you've sort of built up, like, this ideal mother figure for her. And so Tenchi's kind of, you know, still bummed, and then Noike shows up, and they have a little talk. Noike talks about her family, and how she was put in an orphanage, and she spent a long time wondering, you know, why'd they give her up, what happened. Eventually she as a police officer, arrested her own mother, and the explanation her mother gave was like, she got pregnant, the guy that got her pregnant ran off, and when her mother found a new guy, Noike just became burdensome, so she put her up for adoption. That's the story we get there. And so Tenchi and Noike have a little heart-to-heart. He kind of gets over it. It's like, all right. He has like this flashback, and I'll talk about this probably towards the end. The flashback of Rhea cooking in the kitchen. And he's like, all the like generic motherly roles that I had associated with my mother are actually me attaching memories of, or not just memories, but like traits of Rhea onto her. Because I was so young when she died, I don't really remember her much. This other woman who was, stepping in and helping out, I took some traits that I saw from her and just sort of assigned them to memories of my mother. So that's cool. We move on from that. And then, what do we got? Oh yeah, Washu had purposefully tied up Ryoko, Aika, and Mihoshi, who were trying to talk to Tenchi while he was down there by the cave, and just gave Noike a moment with him. She basically said, it's like, all right, we're giving her a handicap, or like catch up, so because you guys have been around for longer. And then after the heart-to-heart, Washu's like, maybe I gave her a little too much. Anyway, so that's wrapped up. The reason for Tenchi's mother's death was just one of the things that Nobuyuki, his father, had wanted to talk to him about. So him and Tenchi sit down, and eventually it's revealed that Nobuyuki wants to marry Rhea, and he was going to tell Tenchi about it. And Tenchi's fine with that, so we get like a little scene of them getting married and whatnot. Tokimi is popping up here and there throughout this episode. I don't think I mentioned that. Towards the talk with Misao and Mashisu, Tokimi shows up for a second in her little chibi form, which is going to be the form she primarily takes when she's here on Earth. But Tokimi is there at the wedding, and she is as Nobuyuki and Rhea are standing there getting married, Tokimi is there, and that's brought up later. It's like, why were you even standing there? It's like, I had a reason to be there. It's a secret, I can't tell you. And I don't know if it's ever directly addressed what exactly she was doing there, but I think it has something to do with War on Geminar, where the main character of that is Rhea and Nobuyuki's son and Tenchi's brother. And I think because Tokimi's the top goddess of all these universes and whatnot, I think the goddess in that show is kind of hinted to be her. So I think in this moment it has something to do with that. I don't remember, though. And I don't know if it's ever directly brought up. And after that, we just have one little plot point to wrap up, and that is Washu brings up that Z was watching the house through Noike's eyes, and we get an explanation of that. We learn that the little female Kagato... Okay, this part of the story confused me, and I'm going to see if I got it right. Little female Kagato that Tenchi saved. They got separated. Little female Kagato went about her business. Noike's mother found this little Kagato and went to Clay, Dr. Clay, to get female Kagato reverted back to a baby. She then named that baby Noike and pretended it was her own child to try and basically get a man she was seeing to stick around. And then when he ran off, Noike's mother dumped the baby. So it's not like a reincarnation thing. It's like a weird de-aging thing where Noike is this female version of Kagato. And we get a moment of I forget what they call their spirits in this show. It's astral something. But female Kagato's has the big clay sticker on her forehead. And because of the weird experiment that they did, her astral spirit, or whatever it's called, became separate to Noike's, and then they fixed that in this episode. So now they're together. Their spirits are a single one. We get a brief explanation about how there is a female Kakuto and how Kakuto was originally a hermaphrodite who hated women, and it's implied that it's because of Washu, because I don't know if it's ever brought up in the show, but Washu created Kakuto. Kakuto's like a clone of Washu's best friend from the True Tenchi novels, I think. And so she made like a clone, ended up being a hermaphrodite. He hates women, splits the female part of him off, goes on to conquer the world. Or try to conquer things, right? So yeah. Quite a bit of stuff going on in this episode. It doesn't feel as packed as the last one. And it did wrap up some loose ends. Like, I didn't even think about this, but, like, I don't know if we needed, like, the extra Masao in Mashisu, like, wrap-up. But it was, like, it does help, because, like, yeah, they didn't really address that much. Obviously, if something like this happened, it would become a big deal. So that got wrapped up. They've been hinting at Nobuyuki wanting to talk about Tenchi about something since, like, well, not since the first episode. I think only in the first episode. So that's wrapped up. Overall, OVA 3, I think, is good. It's got problems. I'm going to complain about one thing. I think I've complained about it before, so I'll try and keep it quick. Rhea just being this big part in Tenchi's life that we've never heard of until now is, like, my biggest complaint with some of the stuff in this episode. If she had just been, like, Nobuyuki's, because I think they, like, work together. She's, like, his assistant or something at his job. And obviously in this we know that they've known each other a lot longer, and she basically stepped up and became a mother-like figure for Tenchi as he was growing up. It just feels really forced in, because it is, right? And that's sort of my issue with it. If Rhea had been trying to tie Rhea into Tenchi's past so much when she had never been brought up until this point, right? It feels really forced and takes me out of it a little bit. But that's kind of it. Like, I'll get over it, and I have gotten over it. It's just kind of annoying in the moment, and it still feels really forced in this episode, going back to it, even now, having seen OVA 4 and OVA 5, where Rhea does feel more like a part of the show, because she actually is. But anyway, OVA 3 is finished. It was good. It's got problems, pacing issues, skipping stuff, obviously. Again, my complaints about Rhea. But overall, I think a lot of the stuff that happened in this was good. Just managing how you, like, managing what you put into these few episodes and, like, how it's paced is the biggest issue, I think. But yeah, OVA 3, it's good. I'm going to be getting into OVA 4 soon. Unlike OVA 1, 2, and 3, which I had seen multiple times before coming back to them to do videos on them, I've only seen OVA 4 the one time, and it's one of those things where I don't remember a whole lot about it, and the only thing I remember is it feels like retreading stuff here from OVA 3, specifically Nobuyuki and Rhea's wedding, but I'm interested to go back to it now, because, again, I don't really remember much, and I'm wondering how much is added, and if it will actually justify that, because I remember watching it, one episode every 3 months or something. It felt like kind of a letdown, but maybe it'll watch better, more closely together. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.